If y'all want to see how stupid this man is, just watch this here. The question dealt with the issue of childcare. Roland.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation. So we'll take care of it. Thank you. Very good question. Thank you.
Did he ask the question?
I had somebody who gave to the show the other day, and they said, Roland, could you please stop cussing? And I've severely limited when I cuss. Reese has it. But what the fuck was he talking about? And what the fuck were these people there clapping for? They literally, what? Because he said, make America great again? He gave the most bullshit answer to child care. Didn't even answer the question, I got tariffs and we're going to make lots of money and we're going to, we're tired of paying for stuff. And for 23 days, the media shitted on Joe Biden, talking about his answers, how old he was, and he was confused, and every day, Democrats, he got to get out of the race. This dumbass stood there and said some of the dumbest shit I have ever heard. And if y'all think it's just his dumbass, listen to his dumbass running mate, J.D. Vance.
It's such an important question, Charlie. And I think one of the things that we can do is make it easier for family models to choose, or for families to choose whatever model they want, right? So one of the ways that you might be able to relieve a little bit of pressure on people who are paying so much for daycare is make it so that maybe like grandma or grandpa wants to help out a little bit more, or maybe there's an aunt or uncle that wants to help out a little bit more. If that happens, you relieve some of the pressure on all the resources that we're spending in daycare. Now, you talk about just daycare. Let's say you don't have somebody who can provide that extra set of hands. What we've got to do is actually empower people to get trained in the skills that they need for the 21st century. We've got a lot of people who love kids, who would love to take care of kids, but they can't, either because they don't have access to the education that they need, or maybe more importantly, because the state government says you're not allowed to take care of children unless you have some ridiculous certification that has nothing to do with taking care of kids. So empower people to get the skills they need. Don't force every early child care specialist to go and get a 6-year college degree where they've got a whole lot of debt and Americans are much poorer because they're paying out the wazoo for daycare. Empower working families, empower people who want to do these things for a living, and that's what we got to do.
All right. I don't know what the fuck. I hope all y'all who think about voting for these dumbasses just heard two of the dumbest responses ever. Well, maybe grandmama and granddad, maybe they. And some of y'all actually have the audacity to question Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz when they say stuff. And this is the Republican ticket. And some of y'all literally think these two absolute ignorant dumbasses are worthy of being in the White House. And the thing that gets me is neither one of them, they probably ain't never had to pay for child care. They don't even know what the hell child care is if it doesn't involve nannies and au pairs and stuff like that. And it just, and see, Matt, this what really pisses me off. What really pisses me off are these punk ass media outlets like the New York Times who wrote a story as if Trump gave a credible answer to the question when the woman who asked the question went on an outlet and she said that was a bullshit ass answer. But what they're doing, again, they're framing it as, oh, Joe Biden was crazy. He was comatose. He was damn near having Parkinson's. He has dementia, Alzheimer's, and they position like this dumbass is a genius.
But Roland.
No, Jolanda. Matt.
No, I'll yield to Jolanda. Go ahead, please.
No, hold on, no. I'm going to you for a reason because I got a question for Jolanda that's separate. Matt, go. I got that. I know what I'm doing. Go.
Yes, sir. You're right. I don't think you're wrong. I think the media has perpetuated a lot of that. And I think he didn't say anything. And frankly, like you said, that was one of the issues that we even discussed on the show, just the fact that there was an imbalance in the coverage of that and an imbalance in the extent to which they were calling into question the candidates' mental faculties, right? With Joe Biden after the debate, that's all you heard about in the 24-hour news cycle for weeks. And Mr. Trump has continued to say things like this that make literally no sense. I mean, he sounds like one of my sons trying to stay up when I tell him to go to sleep, just saying anything. But how about this? How about that? Right? When, it's just incomprehensible. And he's not saying anything at all from a policy standpoint. And when you look at J.D. Vance, what Vance did specifically in his answer is he found a way to come in with that same anti-government rhetoric that they say don't hamper people's ability to be free. He didn't say anything that made any sense, but all he said was don't require a license and let people be more involved. And that's stupid because especially as it comes to kids, we want people to be better qualified when they're taking care of our children. So that's one, not a policy that talks about easing the burden for families. And two, all it does is invoke the anti-government rhetoric that they play on. That's why it's about sound bites and about clever little turns of phrase more so than it is deep policy. So people who are behind this are behind these archetypes. They're not behind real policy, and they're definitely not behind real leadership.
So this is what's, again, just so we know who we're dealing with here, Jolanda. 2017, Wall Street Journal does an article, they're interviewing this fool. And so Donald Trump was describing an on-site daycare at one of his companies. Go to my iPad. So, it's not expensive for a company to do it. You need one person or two people. You need some blocks, and you need some swings and some toys. It's not an expensive thing, and I do it all over. And I get great people because of it, because it's a problem with a lot of other companies. Then he points to these other, they call them Trump kids. Another one calls it Trumpeteers. If you can believe it, I have them. I actually have them because I have a lot of different businesses. He went on to describe a room that's a quarter of the size of this, and they have all sorts of, it's beautiful. They have a lot of children there. We take care of them. And the parent, when they leave the job, usually in my case, it's clubs or hotels. When they leave the job, they pick up their child, and their child is totally safe. They come in during the day, during lunch, to see their child. It really works out well. Jolanda, they didn't exist.
Right.
They literally, these daycares, literally, he's describing a fictitious daycare. He flat out lied. And you know what these folks did? They let him go ahead and say it.
But so my mother always said, why are you surprised when white folks white, right? Why are you surprised when white media perpetuates white negative stereotypes of us and white lunacy, which is why you and what you do is so important, because we can check them. And we all know there are always black people that think white folks' ice is colder. And they're going to trumpet and they're going to repeat whatever white folks say. And so what we have to do, Roland, we have to speak truth to power. We need to call bullshit bullshit. We need to call a spade, and we need to point out this idiocy. With J.D. Vance, they asked him about childcare and how that they could afford, how they could make it more affordable for us, or for people with kids. And he literally didn't talk about how any certification or anything would translate into a parent actually having to pay less for their kids. So nothing they said made sense. And so what we have to do is we have to run through the finish line on November 5th. We have to point this out, but we have to explain to people, and you say this all the time, Roland, that one of these people are going to win. I'm going to say it again. One of them is going to win, so we can't stay home, and we've got to point out how racist and how anti-black he is. And I think for black people, we've got to talk about how anti-black he is, because there will be some people who will resonate with that. That's what we've got to do. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm not surprised when white folks white. I've been black all my life. And the one thing that we are created to do is overcome shit. We've overcome slavery, we've overcome Jim Crow, and we go overcome this because we know how to push through. And that's what we need to remember, and we need to keep our eye on the prize, and we need to make sure we speak truth to power. We need to call his shit, and we need to get her elected. And then a lot of our problems will be better able to be dealt with.
So the thing here, go to my iPad. Michael, this is Associated Press story. They said, again, the Wall Street Journal just ran as gospel. But again, Rupert Murdoch owns them, so they're not checking the damn thing. So the two programs Trump cited, Trump Kids and Trumpeteers, are programs catering to patrons of Trump's hotels and golf club. They are not for Trump's employees, according to staff at Trump's hotels and clubs across the country. He's a liar. Housekeeper at Trump International Las Vegas. No, there's no child care. He's a liar. He's a flat out liar. Something happened to Michael's signal, but that's what it is. Folks, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a massive liar. And you got people who support this massive liar, and that's what they constantly do. They support liars. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.